Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this in the world. Thank you for taking your time to come and hear me talking a little bit about the MA in advertising here at London College of Communication. My name's Paul Kaplan. I'm the course leader for the MA in advertising. You can always contact me at that email address, p.kaplan@lcc.arts.ac.uk, if any questions come up as I'm talking, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn at that address. Anyway, let's get on and talk about the course. I think that MA in advertising is probably the best course in the world, but then I would say that. This advert you may have seen at some stage, famous slogan from Heineken beer. This was an experiential advertising outdoor thing that Heineken put into Shoreditch, which is a trendy part of London, and they actually had a beer pump built into the advert so that people could come up and get a pint of beer. And as you can see, it was very popular. This is one of my favorite phrases. It's by William Gibson, the science fiction writer. He said, "The future is already here. It's just not very evenly distributed." And the MA in advertising at LCC is all about the future of advertising. When I first started doing these talks a few years ago, I thought, what would be the most ridiculous future possible advertising? And I found this picture of adverts being projected onto satellites or being projected onto the moon, and I thought that's ridiculous, that would never happen. And then not long after, I found that there was actually a Russian company that was going to launch a series of satellites into space that will act as an orbital billboard. So we've no idea what's coming round the corner, and that's what the course is all about. There are many challenges that the advertising industry faces at the moment. Ad blocking is a huge problem. How do we get people to actually engage with the messages we want to create if they're downloading ad blockers? What do we do about the future of AI and advertising? AI can create adverts, AI can buy adverts, AI can come up with a strategy. Where do we, as mere humans, fit into this new world? Again, that's what the MA in advertising is all about. So who studies MA advertising? Who comes to work with us? I suppose they fit into three sort of groups. There's firstly people with some advertising industry experience. We've had people with 3 or 4 years experience. We've had people with 20 years experience. And they've come to the course looking for a new perspective, looking for new ways of thinking about their work. We've also had advertising and media graduates who are looking for an industry focus. So people who've done advertising degrees, creative degrees, media degrees, etc., who are wanting to focus on actually getting into a particular sort of industry. And of course, we've had graduates from lots of other disciplines. We've had neuroscientists, we've had economists, historians, literature graduates, all sorts of really interesting people from all around the world. What is master's level study? These are some common questions that people ask us. How many days a week do you study on the MA in advertising? It is a full-time course. We normally have a couple of days a week, 2, 3 days a week where you're in class working with me and my colleagues, but the other days you'll be working in your teams on projects, etc. So it is a full-time course, but 2 or 3 days a week you'll be in the building with me and my colleagues. Typical size of class. This year we've got 30. We don't usually go above 30 because we like to keep it one tightly knit group, but it's around about 28 to 30. Can you work alongside study? This is a complex question, particularly for any of you who are international students and will be coming on a Tier 4 visa. There are complex rules about working alongside study. But yes, we do have students who do that for the very obvious reasons that London is not a cheap city to live in. So it is possible to do that. And we have lots of students who manage to balance those sorts of things. And we try to be as flexible as we can. If you have to miss a session, we'll try and record it for you. I'll try and make myself available to do one-to-one tutorials, etc. So it is possible. If you're lucky enough not to need to do that, that's great, but it is possible. The balance of theory and practice. We are very much a practical focused course, both in terms of creativity and strategy, but we also bring that together with critical thinking about the nature of media, the nature of society, politics, economics, etc. So we see the two as inherently connected, and that both of those sets of skills and both of those sets of abilities are important to get a job in the industry. How do you prepare for the course? The best thing you can do is soak yourself in the industry press. Look for websites like Campaign, Marketing Week, The Drum, Adweek, etc. Look to see what the industry is talking about. Look on LinkedIn for people in the industry talking about the big issues of the day. Those are the things that will help you prepare for the course. So let me introduce you to the team behind the course. As I say, I am the course leader. I've got a background in the industry. I've been a journalist, editor, and photographer. I worked for the government's communications agency and then started my own agency, working primarily with government and non-profit clients, as you can see here. If you're interested in the work I'm doing around speculative fiction, etc., you can see it at the Speculation Studio. Or, as I say, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm not the only industry person working on the course. I'm surrounded by professionals who are still in the industry and former professionals. Claire Lambert, my colleague who leads on the creative elements of the degree. I'm more of a strategist, a creative strategist myself. Claire is a pure creative, has worked for all of these sorts of big agencies, has won awards, etc. And she leads on the more pure creative elements of the degree. Then we've got Seema, who also works with us, a long experience with magazines, with Disney, particularly interested in voice coaching, etc. And she works with me on some of the units as well, which I'll come on to in a minute. Then we've got Catherine, strategy director, now working freelance, big strategy career in Grey and Havas and Aris, etc. And then we've got Ali, who is currently at BBH, a creative strategist. So she's one of those people who bridges the world between creativity and strategy. And in many ways, it exemplifies a sort of hybrid skills that we're looking to develop on this degree, both strategic skills and creative skills. And Ali works with us closely on making sure that you guys are ready for the industry. We like to think of the industry as one of our partners. We work very closely with a number of big industry players. And when I say we work with them, it's not just a matter of them coming in and doing a visiting lecturer spot. We work with them in terms of them helping me decide what we should be focusing on each year, setting briefs. The students pitch back to these big industry players. For instance, we work with WPP Media, which is part of the WPP Group, one of the world's biggest advertising holding companies. And I'll talk a little bit about how we work with them in a minute. But we've had some great feedback from industry people. Rebecca Eves, who was the VP Global Talent and Brand Development at Advertising Week Europe, said the MA's unique industry focus sets it apart from other academic institutions we partner with, making a critical source of insight, content, and talent for our event and the industry as a whole. We also work with non-advertising businesses and consultancies, such as the global consultancy Oliver Wyman. And Kent Valentine, one of its directors, said nice things about us too. The partnership has given us the opportunity for us to share some of the tools, techniques, and trials and tribulations that we use on a day-to-day basis so that the students are more familiar with the realities of working in such a dynamic and rapidly evolving industry. And it's that sense of being familiar with the realities of working in that ever-changing industry that is at the heart of the industry partnerships we have. We also work with agencies such as Mediacom, Havas Media, where Joe Lawrence, who's the EVP Global Agency Development, said the industry is evolving so fast that having links and current real business examples is critical to developing relevant skill sets and experience. And we've been working with them for 6 or 7 years now on a speculative project that I'll talk about in a minute, where our students go to their offices in King's Cross for a briefing and then go back to pitch to very senior people the work that they've developed. And we also work with consultancies such as Genius Steels, a small global consultancy, if you can have a small global consultancy. And Faris Yacob, the CEO and founder, said that when he talked about the projects that the students did based on the brief that he said, one project might even help reinvent digital advertising as we know it. Agencies should be snapping up these students as fast as they can. We also work with BBH, with Mother, with Meet the 85%. All of these are our industry partners. It's not just that they come in and then disappear. We work with them throughout the year to make sure the course is focused on the needs of the industry. And of course, one of the partners that we do work with is AI. Let's get this out of the way. At the start, we encourage, no, almost we require students to work with AI. We expect them to be using AI intelligently and creatively as their partner, both in their creative work, in their strategic work, and in their academic work. And we use various models and various techniques to make sure that that AI partnership is ready for what the industry is requiring. We also visit various industry events. London is, of course, centre of the advertising industry. There are many industry events like the D&AD Festival and MadFest, and where possible, we send students along to those events each year. So in concrete terms, what will you be studying? Well, in term one, we have 3 units. In term two, we have 3 units. In term one, we have the creative advertising unit run by Claire. This is an introduction, particularly for those students who have not worked as advertising creatives, looking at the basic building blocks of creative advertising in terms of human truths, in terms of art direction, copywriting, etc. We also do a unit called Investigating Audiences, which sounds a little dull and dry, but is one of my favorites because it's actually about finding out about people who are going to be seeing our adverts. So what we do is we go out and we understand people by actually talking to them, by getting to know them, by finding out our insights, by listening to what people are actually talking about. What does it mean for them to be using brands to be cooking meals together? The project that we did this year, for instance, the students went out and actually looked at and talked to people about their eating habits, about how food fitted into their lives as part of a brief that they were working on for a food brand. And the third unit in term one is called Advertising Communication Industries. This, again, is sort of enabling people without any real experience in the advertising communication industries to know what is going on there, to know the structure of the industries, to know how they work, to know the challenges that they're currently facing. Into term two, so after Christmas, we got 3 units again. Creative Laboratory is where we take a new technology, a new media space, a new development, etc., and we create prototypes and we explore the potential and the possibilities of that particular technology. So in the past, we've looked at building prototype voice apps, building prototype crypto assets. We've obviously looked at using AI, etc. And this year, they're actually prototyping, building their own agencies. Collaborative is the unit that we run traditionally with Havas, where the students create speculative fictions, create short Black Mirror style episodes in order to give our industry partner a new way of thinking about the industry. Digital media strategy is obviously about strategy, but it's particularly about the changing nature of strategy and how that relates to the various forms of digital media and how those relate to other forms of media. And all of these units in terms 1 and 2 build together to give you all of the skills you need for your final major project. So just a little bit of feedback on this. Investigating Audiences this year, we ran it with Mother, big advertising agency, and Meet the 85%, a research agency. And Mark Hadfield, the director of Meet the 85%, and Omar from Mother posted on LinkedIn some lovely feedback as to the work that they've done. Omar said, an absolute pleasure to finally meet Mark Hadfield and me in person. It's invigorating talking to bright and eager minds at the London College of Communication about what we do, and I'm so eager to see what fresh ideas and discoveries they share back with us next month. And indeed, our students went back and pitched their ideas back to the guys. Joe at Havas, Global Chief Strategy Officer at Havas, posted after last year's pitch back to the senior team there. And she said, as we develop our converged strategy at Havas, we set them a speculative fiction brief on what Havas will be in 2030, combining the power of media, creative production, and customer experience together for brands. We were wowed by their big ideas on the future of our talent experience and client experience. And one of her colleagues, Camilla, said, what an amazing experience. Thank you for inviting me. Meeting those brilliant, talented minds was so inspiring. It filled my mind and soul with fresh new ideas. Can't wait to see everything these guys will build in the years to come. So we're getting not only interesting projects, but we're getting wonderful feedback from the people who actually matter in this. What I want to show you now is one of those speculative fictions, one of those short Black Mirror episodes that Joe and Havas were so impressed with. So let's have a look.
What is your cash burn versus growth
What is your
efficiency?
organic growth rate without paid media?
What's your long-term vision?
Tanish, we really liked your pitch deck. But what makes you different?
You know, in all my pitch meetings, they keep asking me, what's your exit strategy? How scalable is your brand? But all I want from my startup is to create meaningful connections with my consumers. Not just functional benefits, a real lasting value.
So you want people to care?
Because when they care, they come back.
Would love to invest in you.
So, welcome to Havas portfolio of meaningful brands.
Looking forward to the future.
Okay, so what that was the students were asked by Havas to imagine what Havas might be like in 2030. These guys went away, came up with this idea that Havas got into the VC business, created this film, and then pitched it back to the senior team at Havas, who, as we've seen from the feedback, loved it. Creative Laboratory, as I say, this is where we do some prototyping to explore the future of media, etc. We worked with a podcast called The Marketer's Guide to the AI Galaxy, run by two senior professionals, who again posted on LinkedIn about what it was that the students came back to them with. So Mara, for instance, said the students tested what AI can actually do and hit plenty of roadblocks along the way, but that's the point. And the point of the Creative Laboratory is, again, to explore the future of advertising, but to explore it through forms of practice research. In the final term, or the final two terms, terms 3 and 4, students engage in their final major project. This is both final and also major in the sense that they take on really big industry topics. Each year we invite one of our industry partners. This year it's going to be WPP Media to come in and talk about the big questions that their clients are asking them about, and the students take that on as a challenge. And in previous years we've had students exploring how brands could engage better with women's rugby, how they can engage with class diversity, how they can bring brands and music together, how they can do purpose-driven advertising, new forms of purpose advertising, new forms of luxury marketing, etc. So really big projects that a number of our students have said have been part of the reason that they've managed to get jobs, because they've had an in-depth piece of research to talk about in their interviews. Students created all sorts of work as they've been going through the degree. We like to think that at the end they come out with a portfolio, but also their project as the two big things that they take into industry in order to be able to get a job. So whether that's print advertising, moving image advertising, digital advertising, interactive advertising, all sorts of different advertising, together with a practice research project, gives them the tools that enables them to get a job. We're delighted that lots of our students have won some of the big industry awards, including D&AD Pencils, so Varma and DJ, Lucas and Jenny, and Emmy and Nat, who've actually won it twice now, are examples of students who've created advertising campaigns that have gone on to win awards and have been obviously part of the reason that they've managed to get jobs. So let's move on to jobs. I'll be honest with you, it's a very tough market out there at the moment. The industry is laying people off. They're not employing as many juniors as before. So it's even more important that you have a very good story to tell in your interview. And that's what we're focused on. We want to give you the opportunity to develop the best portfolio, the best project, and tell the best possible story about why you might get a job. A few years ago, the wonderful Veronica came to us. And when she came back to do a talk to the next year's guys, she told us that she'd gone from being a graduate to a creative director in 10 months. Veronica, I'll be honest with you, is fairly unique. That's not a standard career path, but she is proof that the skills that she developed on the degree are the sort of skills that are now wanted. And if you connect with her on LinkedIn, you'll see that she's now at an immersive and interactive media firm and is named as one of the Forbes 30 under 30. And she gets to live and work in New York, which can't be bad. So what's happened to the rest of the people who've been through the degree? I just did a quick search on LinkedIn for some of the people I'm connected with, and just to give you an idea of the sort of jobs that people have ended up in. Costanza used to work at a purpose-based business called Good Loop, and she's now Purpose and ESG Strategic Sustainability Communications and a senior consultant at Blurred. Alice is an account manager, which is a traditional advertising role. She's at TBWA, one of the big agencies here in London. Juliet, after various jobs on client side and agency side, she's now freelance. The other Juliet Hofstetter, is an account director, international account director back in France. Connie has gone client side and is working for OVO, one of the energy companies, and is a product marketing manager there. Richard is now at one of the agencies that are part of WPP called Landor. He's very interesting in that he got a job initially as a copywriter, but was very interested in AI, so developed his own work in that area. And now Landor have appointed him as one of their creative technologists. So Richard is a good example of, again, bridging that creativity and strategy reach partnership. Enya, client side as well, marketing communications manager at Humble Grape. Steph, who came to us as an award-winning creative already, but got particularly interested in the strategy side of the degree, and is now bringing both of those things together in Dubai, of all places. Lynn is a producer. She was one of the students who managed to do her degree during COVID, but that didn't stop her. And she is now doing the sort of production side of advertising. Judith has got the wonderful title of Content Creative Director at Adam and Eve TBWA in London. And she basically spends her time creating mad viral content. You really must see some of her stuff. Go onto LinkedIn and you'll see. DJ did a wonderful final major project on how CFOs and CMOs could talk to each other within business. And as part of that, he's now gone on to be a data and marketing science lead, as well as a cartoonist. Again, you've got to see his wonderful cartoons that are on LinkedIn. Ritu, what you might call a pure creative, a D&AD New Blood winner in 25, is now working with her creative partner at Publicis. Lynn, who did the final major project on women's rugby, used that to get a job with a sports marketing agency and is now a strategist at Sidley Sports. So we see that our students go into a whole range of different jobs: agency side, client side, strategy, creativity, data, all sorts of things. We look to enable people to think of the jobs that they want to do and structuring the course, and particularly their final major project, in a way that enables them to get the sort of work that they want. So, little bit finally on applying for the course. What are we looking for when you apply for the course? We ask you to do a personal statement, as I think everybody does. But we encourage you to think of this personal statement as an advert for yourself. You should demonstrate, not simply claim, experience of and an engagement with contemporary industry debates. So when I said earlier about looking in the industry press, what is the industry talking about? What is it worried about? What is it excited about? How can you say that that relates to you? We want to see you coming through in your passion for advertising, your interest in advertising in that personal statement. If you're wanting to get into the communications industry, how can you communicate yourself in that advert? How can your application stand out from the pile of other applications that we look at? We also ask you to submit a 2 to 3 minute video, and the instructions are to respond to the following direction. Give us your critical thoughts on an advert of your choice. The ad can be one you've made or one you've found. Be as specific as you can and impactful and interesting. You're an advertising person. So essentially, we ask you to talk about an advert for a couple of minutes. All right. And that can be famous ads by Apple or Nike or what have you, or an ad from your home country, or an ad that we've never seen before. And what we're after there are your critical thoughts, not just I like this advert or I don't like this advert, but why? Why is it effective? Why is it not effective? What insights are behind it? What creative choices have been made here? Understanding how that advert might have been put together and what it means, and having a perspective on that. So both in the video and in the personal statement, we're looking to see that you are passionate about advertising, that you've got something you want to say about advertising, and that you can bring it all together. Hopefully I've answered some of the questions you might have, but if you've got any more questions about the course, then reach out to me. My email address is there, or as I say, on LinkedIn. If you've got any questions about any of the background to the course, general inquiries will be able to help you. And of course, there are other email addresses for accommodation, scholarship and fees, and all of those complicated issues around visas. There are whole teams here at LCC that will be able to help you with that. I hope that I'm going to see applications from you guys. Reach out to me if you've got any further questions, and thank you so much for your time.